Talk about the TikTok ban, because in my opinion, this is actually a huge positive for the United States, because whether you thought you were Republican or thought you were Democrat, if you thought you were red or blue or left or right, this has shown us that politicians don't represent any of us. They don't want us talking to each other. They want us to hate each other, because I don't know if you know this, but the powers that were granted to Joe Biden were granted to him bipartisanly, meaning politicians on both the left and the right voted for him to have the authority to ban the app in the United States. And I think it's because of a couple things. But the first and most important reason is because they do not want us talking to each other. I don't know if anybody remembers what it was like to live in the United States pre-2008, post-2003. Gen Z doesn't remember. But you know what? It was a pretty good time to be in the U.S. After 2008, politicians, universities, and the media taught us all how to hate each other again. I'm getting tongue-tied here, but basically what happened is 2008 was the financial collapse. And after the financial collapse, we all looked around and we were like, wait a minute. The people that caused this financial crisis, that cost people their homes, their families in some cases, and in some cases their lives, the people that caused it, the Wall Street elites, they got bailed out by U.S. taxpayers and the government. Nobody there went to jail. So we all looked around and we were like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? And so a movement started called Occupy Wall Street, and it made a lot of sense. It wasn't about eating the rich. It wasn't about becoming a communist country. At the beginning, it made a lot of sense. It was about like, okay, where's the government? The government's supposed to protect the people from these sharks on Wall Street, but they're in bed with them. But almost immediately, Occupy Wall Street got co-opted by blue-haired hippies who just screamed nonsense and took dumps on cop cars. And you can't take a movement like that seriously. So we didn't, and we forgot about it. And almost immediately after that, something happened in the United States. It's been going on ever since. The U.S. got hollowed out like Swiss cheese through identity politics, and we all were divided into these camps that by definition had to hate the other people. We haven't been able to get along since then, and one day we wake up and inflation is through the roof. You can't afford to put a roof over your head even if you're working 3 jobs. It's no longer enough to just want to be left alone, make your money, raise your family, and leave other people alone. No, like you got to get sucked into these identity politics arguments based on the color of our skin, what is or isn't between our legs, and what we want people to call us. It's ridiculous. But honestly, I think all of this has been by design, because the media, the people in government, the people in big business don't want us talking to each other. Because I can't tell you how many TikTok videos I have seen put out by people on the opposite side of the political aisle as me, and it's changed my mind, because I'm like, man, I've never heard anybody say it that way before. That actually makes a lot of sense. I have realized on this app post-2020 that left or right, we're not any different from each other. We all just want to be happy and be left alone. But the government moving to ban TikTok is the ultimate signal that the government and big business, and especially Mark Zuckerberg, who's been making money selling our data to the Chinese, because guess what? Newsflash. The Chinese already have our data. Facebook and Instagram, they've been selling it to the Chinese for a long time. So the whole national security threat over our data being owned by the Chinese is like totally false. But that's besides the point. The point that I'm trying to make here, excuse me. The point here is that extreme left and extreme right in this country, they're the same people, just in different costumes. But regular Americans, we could all get along if we were just able to talk to each other. TikTok, ironically, because it's owned by the Chinese, is the only app in the United States where we can do that. There are so many news stories that I've picked up on this app that haven't been covered by any other news outlets. And honestly, I get the suspicious idea that other news outlets pick up stories because they have to, because it's being covered by people who are on the ground, on site, sharing what's happening on TikTok. And if TikTok gets banned, it's just proof that the government doesn't want us talking to each other. It has nothing to do with data. Guess who's collecting our data that's the real problem? The NSA. And if you think that you're on the right political side of this argument because, well, Trump didn't ban TikTok, he was trying to. Everybody in office, Republican and Democrat, they're doing this together. They don't represent you. They don't represent me. They don't represent freedom, whatever that means to you. We have so many issues in this country that are literally tearing it apart, from identity politics to racism to sexism to homophobia, transphobia, the right to have an abortion, the right to smoke pot. And at the end of the day, these are all issues that adults should be able to make for their own selves. Adults making decisions for their bodies. And we've let these people in power convince us that anyone who has a different idea about that is the enemy. And we can't work through it by speaking with each other, because the only people that get to speak are the wackos on CNN, far left, or the wackos on Fox, far right. We don't get any kind of discourse from people in the middle, which is most of us in the United States. So if you feel like super frustrated about this TikTok ban, there's something you can do. You can delete your Facebook account, you can delete your Instagram account, and you can cancel politicians. Vote independent this upcoming election cycle. Like, what are we doing? Are we really going to have another Republican in office? Are we going to really do another Joe Biden? I don't care what your politics are. You shouldn't care what my politics are. We can all agree that the last 8 years have been a shit show in the United States, and we've had both left and right in office, and we keep moving the same direction. Left foot forward, right foot forward, and it doesn't get any better for anyone except for the people that are already at the top. And they're the ones that are pushing for this TikTok ban. And that should tell you something about what this means for all of us and whose interests politicians actually have at heart. Think about it.